that we need to just get used to the idea of a corrupt president and get over it. And so we will have to decide, given that the evidence of this misconduct is so clear and uncontested, are we prepared to just get over it? Are we prepared to say that henceforth we must expect from this president and those who follow that there will be a certain amount of corruption in which the national security of the country will be compromised, in which the oath of the office will mean that much less, in which the belief in the rule of law in the United States will be that much less? Is that what we're simply to get over or get used to? Well, I, for one, don't think we should get over this. I don't think we should get used to this. I don't think that's what the founders of this country had in mind. Indeed, I think that when they prescribed a remedy, this kind of conduct by a president of the United States putting his own personal and political interests above the interest of the American people was exactly why they prescribed a remedy as extraordinary as the remedy of impeachment. And so we have a very difficult decision ahead of us to make. And I have every confidence that the Judiciary Committee, in consultation with the entire caucus and our leadership, will not only receive this report, as well as the reports of others, and make a proper determination about whether articles of impeachment are warranted. With that, I'm happy to respond to your questions. Yes.
When did you obtain the cell phone records that are in this report, and what did they tell you that you didn't learn otherwise from the witnesses you interviewed?
Yeah. Well, I can't go into specifics of dates in which we obtain certain evidence, or indeed whether we obtain communications from one or multiple parties. But certainly the phone records show that there was considerable coordination among the parties, including the White House. Coordination in the smear campaign against Ambassador Yovanovitch, which cleared the way for the three amigos to take over a significant part of Ukraine policy. Coordination in the execution of that policy, and that this was indeed a continuum that began even prior to the recall of the ambassador. Now, Garrett, your question gets to a very important point, which is there is more investigative work to be done. One of the issues that we are looking into is, did this scheme begin far earlier than we first understood? Was this scheme, in fact, put in place to try to pressure the last president of Ukraine, Poroshenko, and his corrupt prosecutor general, Lutsenko, into conducting these same investigations? And was that plan put into turmoil and chaos when this new reformer, Zelensky, surged in the polling and ultimately won that presidency? That is something we continue to investigate. And that is something that these phone records also shed light on. But even as we believe that we cannot wait because the president's efforts to secure intervention in the next election persist, we continue our investigation, and we will. Yes.
Just to be clear, it sure sounds like you support impeaching the president. Do you support impeaching and then the Senate removing him from office?
I'm going to reserve any kind of a public judgment on that until I have a chance to consult with my colleagues, with our leadership, and I think this really needs to be a decision that we all make as a body. So I'm going to continue to reserve judgment, but as you can tell, I am gravely concerned that if we merely accept this, that we invite not only further corruption of our elections by this president, but we also invite it of the next president. So I am keenly aware of the significance of the precedent we set in whatever direction we move. And I'm also very strongly guided by the fact that one of the seminal moments in this scheme took place the day after Bob Mueller testified. The day after Donald Trump thought that the last investigation was over, he began the next significant step in a new course of misconduct. Yes.
Given that you said there's more investigating to be done, do you feel like presenting the strongest possible case here that you're providing to the Judiciary Committee, or would the case be stronger if you had more time to do the investigation?
Well, I would say a couple things. First of all, As I mentioned, we continue to investigate whether this scheme began earlier than expected, whether this scheme also involved the last president of Ukraine. But look, we have provided overwhelming evidence in this report of a scheme to pressure the current president of Ukraine to conduct these political investigations. Will it move others if we're able to show that this was not the first time, this was the second time? I think what we have produced in remarkable short order is so overwhelming that it ought to be presented to the Judiciary Committee now without any further delay. If we do uncover additional evidence, and we do learn more every day, we will feel free to file supplemental reports to the Judiciary Committee. But there is, I think, grave risk to the country with waiting until we have every last fact, when we already know enough about the President's misconduct to make a responsible judgment about whether we think that's compatible with the office of the presidency. Yes.
Do the phone records cast doubt on anything you've heard from the witnesses or anything the President has said publicly?
No, they don't. At least that I can identify at this moment. I think the phone records are remarkably consistent with the coordination of a lot of this scheme. Now, we obviously don't have complete phone records, and some of the phone records are deeply suggestive of who the parties were talking to, particularly in the White House or the Office of Management and Budget. But because of the President's effort to stonewall investigation, including not turn over their own phone records, not only to us but to witnesses like Sondland who asked for them, we don't have all of the answers. But we do know this without any doubt, and that is the President of the United States solicited foreign interference in our election and used the power of his office, the power to convene a meeting in the Oval Office, the power to provide or withhold hundreds of millions of dollars of aid to an ally at war to get his political dirty work done. The only question is how more extensive was the scheme, how many others may have been involved, what was the full knowledge and participation of other parties. And while we intend to get the answers to those questions and let the American people know the full facts, we do not intend to delay when the integrity of the next election is still at risk. Yes.
Last question, Mr. Chairman. Your report mentioned cites call records involving ranking member Nunes. Did you speak to him or inquire about those with his office, and do you believe he should recuse himself later today on this vote? Also, do you or your staff plan to present this report to the Judiciary Committee?
The rules adopted by the Judiciary Committee provide that our staff counsel will present the report to the committee, so that's what we expect will take place. In terms of the ranking member, it won't surprise you, I'm going to reserve comment. It is, I think, deeply concerning that at a time when the President of the United States was using the power of his office to dig up dirt on a political rival, that there may be evidence that there were members of Congress complicit in that activity. Now, there's a lot more to learn about that, and I don't want to state that that is an unequivocal fact. But the allegations are deeply concerning. Our focus is on the President's conduct first and foremost. It may be the role of others to evaluate the conduct of members of Congress. Thank you very much.